All of my life, I was always struggling to pay bills and keep a roof over my head. People just didn't seem to want to hire me. So I was always moving from job to job, and I was barely earning enough to even feed myself. So when my doctor offered me $50K to test something on my body, I said yes. But hold up, let me start from the beginning. Before I go on, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more awesome videos. My doctor wasn't exactly like your average doctor. Dr. Harrison was pretty shady and always seemed to be doing experiments that were probably illegal in some countries. Whenever I arrived in her office, she always had some weird stain on her clothes, probably the result of a failed experiment. One time, I went to a checkup only to find she had bright neon pink hair. She told me a potion she had been working on had backfired, and now she had permanent pink hair. Some people might have ran away at the sight of her, especially since she was their doctor, but I wasn't too bothered, and she was nice enough, so I was fine with her treating me. One day, I asked her about her experiments. She explained all the sorts of things she was doing. She was trying to make ice cream that reversed the effects of aging, to the point where your 50-year-old face could revert to a 10-year-old's. She was also working on some kind of pill that allowed you to change the tone of your voice. So, if you wanted to sound high-pitched or low-pitched, or sultry or nerdy, you could do so by taking a type of pill. Honestly, all of these sounded pretty sketchy to me. I wasn't so sure if she could even accomplish something like that, but Dr. Harrison assured me she was very close to succeeding in one project. I call it Project Love, she told me. I'm on the verge of a breakthrough. I was intrigued. Really? I asked, what is Project Love? Well, I've designed a sort of chip, a bug that can be inserted into your body, she said. It then ejects a certain scent that is similar to what you feel when you're in love. In other words, it makes people love you. I was immediately interested. Well, for starters, my dating game has never been good. Actually, at the time, I had never had a girlfriend. That's right, never. So when Dr. Harrison spoke of a bug that could make people love you, I was immediately on board. I know, some people may say this was unjust, as you're tricking people into loving you, but I was desperate. Hey, actually, Michael, said Dr. Harrison, I need someone to experiment my latest version of the bug. Would you be willing? I was about to say yes, but then I hesitated. Actually, it probably wouldn't be a good idea. I didn't know Dr. Harrison that well, and I didn't know how safe her testing would be. No, I don't think that's a good idea, I said. I'll pay you $50,000 if you do it, she said. Well, that settled it for me. Okay, I agreed. And that was that. I was going to get tested with a love bug. Now, that wasn't the smartest of choices, and trust me, it might have been one of the biggest mistakes of my life. The same week, Dr. Harrison called me in for the Project Love testing, and I went to her office. She put me under, and by the time I woke up, I had the love bug in me already. Dr. Harrison showed me an x-ray, and I was shocked to find it was located very close to my heart. It kinda scared me to think a piece of metal was inside me. Dr. Harrison made me sign a form to basically rid her of any consequences, and she transferred the $50,000 straight to my account. I was so happy. I had $50,000. And not only that, if this thing worked, I would finally be loved. A part of me also wondered what may happen if this turned out to be another one of her failed experiments, but I shrugged the thought away. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. I went home and honestly didn't really feel that different. I was curious to see who would be affected by the love scent. When I walked down the street, no one looked at me differently. Maybe it hadn't worked. But there was one person that I really hoped would be affected by the love scent. I had a coworker at this fast food restaurant I worked at, and she was so cute and kind, and I was really into her, but I always believed I was too poor to get her attention. Well, if this test worked, I wouldn't need to worry about getting her to love me. Sure enough, that day, I asked her out, and she said yes. Lola seemed to really like me too. The testing had worked. I was supposed to check in with Dr. Harrison the next day for another checkup, but I skipped it so I could go on a date with Lola. Big mistake. Well, Lola and I had a great time on our date. We went to the carnival and we played all sorts of games, and I was completely smitten by her. I hoped she felt the same way about me. I was pretty sure that the love bug had worked though. Dr. Harrison would be so happy. But when I got back home, I saw Dr. Harrison had called me 42 times. I felt my stomach drop like a stone. Oh no, this can't be good. My heart was beating like crazy. Maybe something had gone wrong with the experiment. Maybe she was mad I had missed out on our scheduled checkup. I took a deep breath and called her back. "Hello?" I said. "Michael," came Dr. Harrison's voice on the phone. "Where have you been? You missed your checkup." I know, I'm sorry. What's wrong?" "You shouldn't have done that. The love bug scent has multiplied now. That checkup was supposed to stop the effects of the bug. Now everyone will be in love with you." I hung up because I saw something that made my knees weak. I was standing in the kitchen as I spoke to Dr. Harrison on the phone, but as I looked out the window, I spotted a swarm of women heading my way. There was a crowd of them, at least 20 women, all running towards me. I locked the doors, but they wouldn't leave. I ended up having to call the police, and after much persuasion and threats of arrest, they managed to get the women to go. I stayed home the whole day. The next morning, Lola had called to ask if I wanted to hang out again. I guess the only reason she asked was because of the love bug, but I was really into her, so I didn't mind. I agreed, and we scheduled to meet at the mall. When I met up with her, women started to chase me around, and I couldn't get anywhere without women coming to say hi or get my number. It was crazy. This wasn't what I wanted. Lola was put off by all these women, and even when I told them I was dating someone already, they didn't seem to care. A lot of men pursued me too. I wasn't attracted to men, but it seemed they were attracted to me. My life was miserable. I was conflicted too. The test was definitely not worth the $50K, but without it, I never would have gotten Lola. She was the only good thing in my life as of now. But now I couldn't go anywhere without being harassed by women and men. It was horrid. I tried to find Dr. Harrison to ask her to give me an antidote or something, or maybe reverse the effects of the testing. But when I arrived at her office, she was missing. Her assistant told me she had disappeared suddenly. They had no clue where she went. That's when I realized I was trapped with this stupid bug in me. I decided I had no hope but to try and find Dr. Harrison. Using some of my $50K, I hired a private investigator to find Dr. Harrison, and eventually they located her on some remote island in the Caribbean. I booked the first available flight, and Lola said she wanted to come too, so we hopped on a plane within a few hours. It was even worse on the plane. I had nowhere to escape the people who felt they were in love with me. Luckily, it was a short flight, but by the end of it, I had given my number to every woman on the plane, even some who were over 60 years old. Lola was so surprised by how many people were attracted to me. I apologized to her over and over again, but she said it was fine. "It's not your fault," she said. I felt guilty because it was my fault. I had chosen to have the test for Project Love. There was no one to blame for this but me. Finally, we arrived on the island, and Lola and I rushed to the location the private investigator had told me. Apparently, Dr. Harrison was staying in some resort on the coast. We got a taxi to the resort, and we tried searching for her. Eventually, I spotted her lounging by the pool. It was quite easy considering she had neon pink hair. I asked Lola to stay behind so she wouldn't hear about my secret test. Dr. Harrison didn't even seem that surprised to see me. I asked her why she had left, and she said that she was wanted by the FBI. Apparently, she had done a bunch of illegal experiments that broke a number of laws in several states. When I asked her to fix my problem, Dr. Harrison told me that because I had missed my checkup before, the effect of the drug had multiplied to a point that was over the top. She said the effects were permanent. She could take the bug out, but the deal was done. I would forever have people falling in love with me. There was no hope. I sat down, defeated. "It's just," I said, "there's this girl, Lola, and I really love her. But I want her to love me for me, not because of this stupid love scent." "Her?" asked Dr. Harrison. She pointed to Lola, who was waiting patiently to the side. "That's strange." "What?" I asked. "She doesn't seem completely in love with you." "What do you mean?" Dr. Harrison scratched her chin as she thought. "Would you let me do some tests on her?" "What? No way." "Relax, I'm not doing anything wrong. I just want to check something." Before asking, she called Lola over and explained everything to her. She told Lola about my test, about the love bug inside me, about everything. I was shocked. I was so scared Lola would cry and dump me, then and there. But to my surprise, she accepted, and let Dr. Harrison test her. Suddenly, Dr. Harrison pulled out a blood sample taker. Did she carry her medical supplies with her everywhere? And took a tiny drop of blood from Lola's finger. She inserted it into a test tube, dropped another purple-colored liquid, and nodded. Said Dr. Harrison. Just what I thought. What? I asked. Lola is immune to your love bug. What? I exclaimed. But then I smiled with glee, because suddenly I realized what this meant. Lola really loved me. I apologized to Lola for almost tricking her into loving me, but she was completely fine. She said she understood what it was like to feel unloved. But I do love you, she said. I love you too, I cried. Finally, we kissed, and Dr. Harrison was laughing at us. But I didn't care, because finally I had found someone who loved me. But there was still the problem of the love bug. I decided I had to move to a really rural area where no one could be near me and smell my love scent. Despite my protests, Lola said she wanted to live with me too. We're living together now and life is great. But this is a lesson for you guys. Whatever you do, don't let some random doctor, or anyone for that matter, do a shady experiment on you. Take it from me, it isn't worth the money.